Roxo Media House.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Purple Theory Podcast. My name is Grant McGalliard. Have alongside with me my co-host, my friend Parker Fleming. Parker, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I mentioned this off air, but it's snowing again. Turns out, living in the mountains, that you get a little bit of a trade off. But we had like a 30% chance of flurries this afternoon and got like darn near 4 inches. So I've had to shovel snow today and deal with my nosy neighbor who has a snowblower and feels entitled to come over and blow my lawn and then complain about it when she does it. So, just the joys of living in a community, man.
Parker, for those of you that don't know, lives at base camp of Mount Everest in Nepal. So he's currently fighting a lot of snow on the ground right now.
I will say the language barrier probably makes my neighborly dispute worse. Yeah, absolutely.
You're yelling snowblower at her and she... Nepalese is a language, but
I've heard the phrase. I've heard the word Nepalese. Let's be informed, viewers.
Yeah, I'm looking this up. They speak like Sherpas. Sherpas speak. They have their own language called Sherpa.
No, Nepali, maybe. Yeah,
Nepali. Yeah, but the Sherpas on Mount Everest is what I mean. Speak Sherpa language. It's a Tibetic language. Very interesting. We're learning a lot here.
I could go down this rabbit hole. I should do this later.
Yeah.
It's a predominant... No, Sherpa is a spoken language.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying, I thought you were educated in saying, I know it's some kind of Sherpan language.
No, I'm saying...
Sherpan is the language. Okay.
I'm reading the Wikipedia that Sherpa people speak Sherpa.
Grant, given the way our minds work and given that we signed a deal with FrogsToday and are going to keep recording in the off season, this podcast is going to go places. I don't know where it's going to go, but let me tell you, it's going places. We might have to watch a basketball game or something because we can't just do Google random shit every week.
You know what? Our listeners will come away more informed.
I'm glad to hear. I'm going to read about Sherpa.
Absolutely, I am. Glad to hear everything is going well. Glad to hear you are not totally snowed in, and glad to hear at least someone in your neighborhood has a snowblower. Parker, Max Duggan did not win the Heisman Trophy.
He didn't.
Your thoughts?
Are you sad about that? On one level, yes, but
it's kind of like we talked about in terms of the playoff, although that obviously ended better because TCU got in. But at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me Max Duggan does not win the Heisman Trophy this year, I would have said, yeah, sure, of course. But Saturday night at 7, as I started talking myself into Max maybe winning, maybe stealing the hearts and minds of some voters, I was a little disappointed. I knew Caleb Williams was going to win, but I was still a little disappointed. Yeah, sad's not the right word, but
I definitely paused what we were doing. I didn't watch because I don't like all the hullabaloo and the talking or whatever. And so I turned in at like 55 to the hour, like 5 to the hour. And it's like, all right, I know they're going to present it and watch because it's a big moment. But Max Duggan comes in second. Grant, he got 188 first place votes, which was second by a long shot. This was a clear blowout. Caleb Williams won 2,000 total points in the vote. Max Duggan had 1,400 though. And then CJ Stroud, 539. Stetson Bennett, 349. That is, if you're doing math at home, Max Duggan had 4 times the votes of Stetson Bennett. Hendon Hooker with only 226. Bryce Young, 141. I feel like Bryce Young may be underrated on this list. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but if you're taking into account context, like he did not have a great context this year and he is still a freak. Blake Corum probably should have been higher. He won 25 votes, but he got injured, and so his total stats go down. Michael Penix Jr., talked about this on the BetUS show, led the nation in passing EPA this year. Maybe a guy for next year that'll be on a Heisman watch list. Watch those odds. And then rounding it out, Bijan Robinson gets a legacy vote, 75%. Drake May, Grant, your boy, 3 first place votes. All 3 North Carolina beat writers voted Drake May number 1 in the Heisman. Oh my gosh. Do you know anyone who votes? Wait, tell me, you got something about Drake May. I was just
going to say, no, I mean, Drake May's an awesome player. If you voted for Drake May, you should have your Heisman vote taken away from you.
I will agree. And I will say Drake May is dope. That doesn't mean he's good, but he's dope. Do you know anyone who's a Heisman voter?
Yes.
I had people coming out of the woodwork telling me they were Heisman voters and showing me, hey, I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but I voted for Max Duggan. And I think they were expecting me to say, like, multiple people, it's not singling them out. I think they were expecting me to be like, oh, cool, awesome, thank you. And my response to every single one was like, how the hell are you a Heisman voter? Who are you people, and who puts this together? But I say that in jest, of course. It's a made-up award. I'm glad that regular fans and normal people have votes. I think they should increase the voting and let more normal people vote for it.
Why do you not have a vote? You have like 19,000 Twitter followers.
I have 22,000 Twitter followers. Thank you. I drive a Ford Taurus. You can't talk to me that way.
Dodge Stratus.
Oh my! I know. Well, but I think last time I said Dodge Stratus, and then we didn't know, and so right there in the moment, that was the callback joke that I messed up. It's fine.
It's fine.
I'm not sad about Max. I'm like thrilled. I'm really like. There were some people last night in my mentions and in my DMs trying to be like, "Hey man, like, oh, suck it, whatever." Like, it wasn't effectively suck it, but it was like, "Haha, this is funny." I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, the expectations for TCU coming in, this is an amazing season, and Max Duggan finishing second behind finishing obviously second behind the obviously best quarterback in the nation this season in terms of performance. And I totally agree that Caleb Williams should have won it. I'm thrilled. I think this is amazing. I'm so glad that he got the recognition. Can we just open a can of worms for a second here?
Sure.
Max Duggan won second decisively and got invited at all because TCU gave people access and promoted their guy, which is why Trevon Boykin never went. That's probably why Andy Dalton didn't go, although that's a very different environment a long time ago, much harder with the quarterbacks and the strength of schedule arguments and all that. There's an argument to be made that both of those quarterbacks are every bit as deserving as Max Duggan of a Heisman nod and at least being included in the voting. And I know the environment was different, and Boykin came in fourth one year, but by a big margin. So they cut it off, and now they bring the top four regardless. But this would be TCU did a great job of marketing and supporting a player. And that's something we've said all year long of just like, it's good that TCU lets people be excited about things. And it really paid off with Max Duggan here.
Yeah. Looking back at Boykin in 2014. So Marcus Mariota had maybe one of the best, the most underrated great season by a college quarterback, like in the last decade. His efficiency numbers were off the daggum charts. He had 788 first place votes. Melvin Gordon finished second. He had 37. Amari Cooper actually got more first place votes, but fewer total points.
And so they invited all three of those, and then Boykin was behind them.
Yes, Boykin had 7 first place votes, which is the fourth most, and he had 218 total points. But I think you're exactly right. If this was a season where, hey, you pay more attention to what Boykin's doing, you let them in, you get him, interviews with him. You do cool content around him. He absolutely could have gone to the ceremony. He had no shot of winning, of course, and probably maybe would have increased his vote total to 12 first place votes. But you're right. He probably should have been in New York.
Well, and this year under the old system, I think it's important to say because this is the first year I think they said we're bringing 4 guys regardless, not the voting off. It would have been in the old system. It would have been Caleb Williams and Max Duggan and nobody else. Like that's how far that, this was a huge blowout there. So I think that's important to note as well that like anyone, I'm not telling you not to be disappointed, like root for your guy. Absolutely. But to call this anything short of an amazing season, like no one can take anything away from this at all. Like absolutely incredible.
Max Duggan had 188 first place votes for the Heisman Trophy. Before this season, I think there may be 188 people in the nation total who thought he could do that. And 187 of them are listeners of this podcast.
Me, Parker Fleming. I don't think Max Duggan's ever going to win the Heisman. Like that was my qualifier of like, hey, I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman. Like he proved Max. That's how good of a season Max Duggan had this year is that he proved me wrong about him in a positive direction. And did more than me of all people said. So absolutely true. One thing I thought was cool, Grant, they do these breakdowns. And I'm totally just taking Ralph Russo's tweet here because he's on my Twitter feed, but, They do these breakdowns of the regions, and generally these are super biased. Like generally, these are embarrassingly biased voting habits. And Max Duggan was second in every region. Caleb Williams was first in every region. Max Duggan got more than 2 times the number of votes that Stetson Bennett did in the Southeast. Max Duggan got almost twice the votes of CJ Stroud in the Midwest. That's absolutely incredible. He only got 41 fewer votes than Caleb Williams in the Southwest. That's incredibly impressive.
It's wild that happened. It's funny you mentioned that, like the biases and stuff. There are a lot of college football writers that I really like, and most of them have Heisman votes. And some of them after the ceremony will tweet, okay, here's how I voted. Dude, it's biased for everybody. Like, I don't think anybody votes for the Heisman and is really objective about it.
No, there's no systematic. It is entirely like, who do I like this year? Because everyone you argue with is like, well, I'm going to pick and choose these stats. And like, why don't you ignore those stats and you take these stats and make an argument there? So yeah, absolutely. That's true.
There was some dumbo, and I don't remember who it was, that didn't vote for Max in his top 3.
Did it rhyme with Schmom Schmillions out of Lubbock? Dude,
be careful. There's an avalanche coming your way.
Props to somebody who's an OG hater. You look, man. I am so glad. Look, if you're gonna hate, commit to it, dude. Don't try and patsy for votes or whatever. I like it.
We could talk about someone else who's a jealous hater in the mentions, but I'll leave that alone. Anyway, no, but it is cool that Max got so many votes like nationwide. It's like you said, we shouldn't be disappointed considering what the last few years have been. I mean, look, you mentioned cherry pick stats. This is absolutely a cherry pick stat, but it just makes me laugh because I saw it earlier today. Max's PFF grades, and 67 as a freshman, 79 as a sophomore, 76 as a junior, 85.6 as a senior. He just continues to grow, get better. God, I love watching that kid play football.
It's truly great because, again, if we're going to have like an NFL prognostication conversation, I'm not going to be very high on Max Duggan in the NFL, right? He's no Brock Purdy, right?
I was going to bring that up, but go ahead. Okay.
Okay. Well, let's take a detour on Brock Purdy here in a second. But the Heisman this year did a great job of rewarding the most talented players, involving the legacy vote of Stetson Bennett of, hey, you've been around for a while and you've done a great thing for your program. You've outperformed expectations. Like, good for you. CJ Stroud is another talented guy who's put together a couple good seasons, and they rewarded the story of Max Duggan. I felt like there was nice coverage. My only qualm was that Blake Corum wasn't there, but he got injured and cut a season short, and like that happens, and he's a running back. I don't think it's very valuable, but I understand like he probably should have been here overall. So I'm pleased with it. It's weird to be in a situation where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty unobjectable Heisman voting. Like I'm not mad about it generally, and pretty unobjectable playoff only because Alabama had a second loss and Tennessee had a second loss. If either of those teams had one loss, there's zero chance TCU would have been in the playoff. I'm still maintaining like process is bad, but it was unobjectable because they literally couldn't do anything else this season.
Here's my thing. When's the last time the Heisman's actually gotten it wrong? Like, obviously, like, there have been a bunch of great, that's what I'm doing right now. Obviously, there's been like great offensive linemen, defensive linemen, wide receivers, running backs that are fantastic players, and everybody on defense. But when's the last time they actually like legitimately got it wrong? I know my answer, and it's my own personal bias. I think
you're going to say Johnny Manziel?
Back to back. I think Manziel should have won back to back years. But Jameis was the quarterback of an undefeated Florida State team.
Yep.
I get why it happened, but Manziel finished, I think, 5th or 6th in the voting that year and had better stats than he did in 2012.
Yeah, I think that's fair. A lot of these are very situational. A lot of these have been like just the good quarterback on a good team. Winston, Robert Griffin, not to say like, not to be a hater and be like Robert Griffin wasn't good. Just saying like Robert Griffin was a good quarterback on a good team. Like that's how they vote. Sam Bradford, same kind of thing. Troy Smith is a great example of like, yeah, man, like you did your thing. I will say, I think there's a couple that stand out where it's like, they actually got it really right. Where like Lamar Jackson on a not very good team in 2016 won, obviously deserving. I don't think Kyler Murray should have won it in 2018. Is that the year?
I think it should have been Tua. Yeah, it's 18.
Yes.
Tua, I would have. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Tua didn't win it because it went Kyler Murray and then it went Joe Burrow the next year. So that's kind of sad. Not sad in the sense of like, oh, I'm upset about it. The other one is like, I do think that it's hard for defensive players to win it, but you look at somebody like Will Anderson and you're just like, dude, I don't know how it's crazy that the career he had, he wasn't involved in that at all.
Yeah. Well, you look, I mean, in 2000, I guess it would have been 09 was the year Ndamukong Suh was like the best college defensive lineman in the country. And the top three that year were Mark Ingram, Toby Gerhart, and Colt McCoy.
Toby Gerhart, what a guy.
Yeah, right?
Dude, my God, this is going to be a dour note for a second. Grant, I just saw this tweet from Robbie Falk, who covers Mississippi State, and he said, Mike Leach needs a miracle, folks. Continue to pray. Holy cow. I'm sure that you guys have seen if you're listening to this, you've seen the news and everything, and that he's had a medical emergency, but this seems pretty dire. Holy, that's incredible. Prayers up for Coach Leach.
Yes.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Terrifying. By the time you listen to this, it'll be Monday. Hopefully we'll know more, and hopefully we'll have better news, but good Lord, that is.
Yeah. Sorry to interject that.
No. Thanks.
Really
no,
reacted.
Yeah.
That is a scary thing.
Can I dunk on some? Can I pull us out of this by dunking on somebody real quick, and not to let's
do a hard pivot. Yeah, it's inorganic. Whatever. Sorry, that's great. Let's pivot.
Eric Crouch winning the Heisman is the biggest travesty in the history of college football.
I have to look at the voting before I can agree with that because I'm not prepared.
Okay, do that, and I'm going to pull up Eric Crouch's stats.
There are some freaking names on this list, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
Rashawn Salam. I'm trying to find him. Eric Crouch. There we go. Okay.
Here we go. In 2001, so he did have 18 rushing touchdowns, right? Which for a quarterback's great, obviously. 1,115 rushing yards. He threw for 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
How many pass attempts did he have?
189. You see my point?
That's awesome. Yeah, David Carr, 533 attempts, 46 touchdowns. Holy cow, that's a season.
David Carr rules.
Yeah, here's what we're gonna say that's hilarious. One, Dwight Freeney or Julius Peppers should have won it because that would have been dope.
Yep.
But here's the hot purple theory take that we're gonna have tonight. Rex Grossman should have won the 2001 Heisman.
Rex Grossman was awesome. Where did
I didn't think I was going to wake up and say that sentence.
No. Where did Dwight Freeney go? Syracuse.
He's at Cuse.
Right. Okay. Yep. Yeah, Cuse. Because I knew Julius was at Carolina.
Worth pointing out that Bryant McKinney, Miami offensive lineman, was 8th in voting that year. That's probably the last time an offensive lineman's been that high.
I think you're right. And I'm curious if Orlando Pace ever got Heisman votes. Yeah, he was 4th. He was 4th.
Dang. Okay. So that was sooner. Yeah.
No. He was actually before.
Okay.
He was.
Shout out to
Heisman one in '96.
Heisman.com has a list of all of them. Bryant McKinney is the last offensive lineman to finish 8th or higher. There were 2 in the 90s. Zach Wiegert from Nebraska. Don't know who that is. And then a couple earlier on. So it looked like it was. Looks like generally it was people, a nod here and there, but not very rare. And then stopped after 2001. Dave Remington, presumably named the Remington Trophy, 5th in 1982. That's fun.
That's very fun. Some of the
names scan live. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Some of the names you go back through of like the top 3 in voting are like extremely like remember that guy names. Brad Banks finishing 2nd to Carson Palmer in 2002. An Iowa quarterback finishing 2nd in the Heisman Trophy. I think probably under Kirk Ferentz. Ferentz would have been there by then, right? He's been there forever.
I assume so. He's 21, 22 years now.
Yeah, he would have been there. Colt Brennan got 3rd in 2007. Toby Gerhart. That is a name I have not heard in a really long time.
A lot of these linemen actually got pretty close. This is wild. I was going to go through and be like, oh, I wonder who the highest is. But you've got like 4 or 5 who are 2nd or 3rd. Early on, a lot of those guys are 2-way players. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Like you're a center and a linebacker. Okay, I get why you're getting voted. But John Hicks, Ohio State tackle in 1973, was 2nd in the Heisman voting. That's wild.
Dang. See, back then, people knew how to appreciate football.
we used to be a country, Grant. Where's the Hicks Trophy? Where's the John Hicks Offensive Lineman Award in Excellence?
We used to make things here. Can you name the only other TCU player that has been to the Heisman ceremony besides Max and Davey O'Brien?
LaDainian Tomlinson went?
No, Jim Swink went.
Oh, I just assumed
he got second to Howard Cassidy in 1955.
Darn that Howard!
I know.
Howard Cassidy. Wait, let's take a detour about Brock Purdy, and then we said this was going to be short. We don't have to ramble about nothing. I don't know if anyone's listening to this, but I'm enjoying hanging out. I just want to be fairly maligned.
Okay.
All I have ever done is appreciated the chaotic energy of Brock Purdy and the fact that he is just catastrophic, not even catastrophically good or catastrophically bad, just catastrophic. Everything he does is incredible to me. It is like watching a clown doing a handstand where I'm just like, this is funny. And I just want to see what happens. That is how I feel about Brock Purdy. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope that man gets a second and a third contract. I hope he makes more money per snap than Chase Daniel did.
You are right in that every successful NFL play that he's had, and the fact that there's more than two is really surprising. Looks like nothing that happened on that play was designed to happen on that play.
Yep, absolutely. And it's so funny to me. I have a really good friend who's a 49ers fan, just diehard. Mm-hmm. And this man hates Jimmy G. We were watching football the other day when Jimmy G got hurt, and this man said, I hope his ankle's broken. I was okay, all right, let's pull a little bit back there. But just to say, this man hates Jimmy G, and he's like, oh, good, finally someone else at quarterback. And Brock Purdy walks on the field, and I was like, brother, you have no idea what you're in for.
Wait, okay, here's the thing. Brock Purdy, new starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Breece Hall tearing it up with the New York Jets. Is Matt Campbell bad?
Many people are wondering how Matt Campbell squandered a 2021 season where he had more returning production than anyone in the nation and three NFL guys. Three is a receiver?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but yes.
And a couple NFL defenders like Mike Rose or her. Yeah. But yeah, I think that what we're seeing this year is that Charlie Kolar. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, Kolar. Yeah. And then Xavier Hutchinson, who will be an NFL guy.
It really helps to have strike gold on recruiting.
It does. The other half is that you have to actually coach them to wins. It's either Matt Campbell or it's Tom Manning. But either way, yikes.
I don't know. I mean, like, yeah. We'll do a moratorium series this offseason so that we can actually talk about these teams in detail. But yeah, Brock Purdy, go win a playoff game. That would be immensely hilarious to me.
What if there's a chance he wins more games? Actually, probably not. The math won't work out, but he could come close to winning more games with the 49ers this season than he did at any season in Iowa State.
Because
if the Niners win out, they could it'd be like 7 or 8 wins under him.
I'm looking at this. Because in 2020,
I think they still only won 9 games.
Because Matt Campbell's never won 10 games. They won 9.
Iowa State's never won 10 games, I don't think. Ever.
Yeah. At Matt
right.
Campbell
Yeah.
State.
Yeah.
Okay. So currently, the 49ers, this is why people listen to the Purple Theory podcast.
We're an NFL podcast.
Are 1-2, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, 3-4.
You can just look up the record. It'll tell you.
Well, not on their page. It's not right here on the page. 5-4, 5-5, 5-6, 6-6. Okay. So Brock Purdy, last 2 games he's played. Last week against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And then he started today. So he won today. They've got a bye, and then the Chargers. No, we're still cruising. Okay, so that was the Dolphins he went in. So he started today against the Panthers or the Buccaneers. So that's 1, Seattle, Washington, Las Vegas, 5. He's got 5 regular season games left. So they'd have to win out, and then that's wild card, divisional, AFC Championship. He'd have to go to the Super Bowl to do it. At
this point, the Texans already locked in the number 1 draft pick pretty much. That's all I care about. I need Brock Purdy to win as many games coming in as a backup with the 49ers.
Davis Mills was balling today, though, man. Look at that against the Cowboys.
Jeff Driscoll was in the game.
I didn't know. I had it on the background.
No, they were rotating in Davis Mills and Jeff Driscoll. They used Jeff as their running option. He was their
I imagine
he ran like speed option with Jeff Driscoll.
This is going to be a super nerdy way, and then we should end the podcast. That's fine. But
yeah, that's fine.
You know how like in like the original Pokemon, you ever play that game? You know, it's monsters fighting monsters.
Yeah.
And you could like get 2 of a certain type and then put them in the thing. And that guy Bill made like the new Pokemon out of those, whatever.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, hey man, Davis Mills, Jeff Driscoll, let's put him in the Pokemon combiner thing. It's kind of a quarterback right there, dude.
It is. It's if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any, but the Texans don't have any, so they use 2. And it almost worked. They almost beat the Cowboys. Parker, this has been the Purple Theory Podcast. This is a shorter episode. We will be back with some bowl previews on Wednesday, and then we'll also start creeping into breaking down the Michigan Wolverines. We'll have more updates on that.
We're literally going to talk about that right now when we pause this. So we'll have a schedule sooner or later.
What we're going to figure out what we're doing. This is a shorter episode because the only news is that Max is officially the 2nd best college football player in the country, but he is number 1 in our hearts. My name is Grant McGalliard. Have alongside with me Parker. I'm on Twitter at Grant McGalliard. Spelled like it sounds with all those vowels. He is Parker. He is on Twitter at StatsOWar. He's on the Bet US show, which airs Tuesday and Wednesday at noon Central on YouTube. I assume there's going to be a lot of bowl predictions coming up soon for that game.
So many bowl predictions. We're going to be all over it, man.
Well, tune into that. Make sure to go to Frogs Today. Thank you to Frogs Today, as always, for partnering with us on this podcast. And until next time, Parker, go Frogs.
Go Frogs.